Yes, everybody, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Jack here, joined by a very, very, very lovely panel. And apologies for no match day festivities last time around, but we are going to do it this time. Manchester United, the big team from Manchester, and we've had a very good record against these Manchester teams, and Spurs are in need of a win. I was just speaking to my mom the other day, and she seems to think that we'll win this game. So I'm going into it with some sort of positive, happy clapping mentality, and hopefully these guys can sort of help boost me up for this game. But we have a lovely panel here. Hopefully everybody's in with us. Smash the like button, please. And this is going to be your pre-match build-up for today. No Dave, still feeling under the weather, but we have plenty of people to fill in for him and do the best they can. Drew is going to be filling in for the watch along today. Drew, how are we?
I'm doing all right, thank you, Jack. Sorry, I just had a swig of coffee and I'm choking in the background. So
I was looking at my notes.
Trying to keep it very professional. It's all good, man. I'm doing very well. Big up to Dave. Hope he's on the mend and feeling better. Always good to share the screen with these fine gentlemen. And I'm happy clapping today, everybody. Happy clapping. No delusion. No delusion. Straight up 4-0. Let's go.
Not even delusion at all mixed in with happy clapping. Just pure happy clapping flow.
Happiness. The happiness clappeth through me.
Well, Soren, you got tough competition then today. How are you?
You feel a bit sort of crappy because I was going to say 3-0, and I must just be clapping with one hand today, you know, because I know Dermot's going to come up and absolutely blitz us all. So it's going to sort of go 3, 4, 5 probably. So it's going to be an interesting one with yourself and Donovan. But yeah, good. Really looking forward to today's game. Feeling positive, feeling upbeat. So let's go.
I'm realizing, even though I did the introductory part with the happy clapping, I'm realizing this is a very, very positive Spurs panel. So in case people were looking for that, you have been satisfied. But Dermatron, good to see you, sir. Popping in, during the couldn't, give you a little hello during the back end, but good to have you with us. And maybe you'll be singing 6-0 instead of 4-0 and 5-0.
I've been looking at 6-0. Yeah, I'm absolutely dying with a bug.
Oh,
but I
geez,
couldn't
bro.
miss
You do
it.
sound. Are you sure you want to be on? You sound like
No,
Dave.
I
You
couldn't
sound
miss
like-
this. I promised Dave I'd do it, so I'm here. But look, I'm going for 6-0. Come on, you Spurs. Let's beat them. I'll tell you one thing. Out of 203 times we've played Man United, them bastards have beaten us 96 times. 53 draws, and we've had 51 wins against them. It's around that. I think it's 51 wins. But let's not make it 97 today. Let's keep it at 96. Let's beat them. Let's do the double over them. And let's get on this road to winning the trophy. Come on.
Great intro as always, Dermo. But man, you've done so many pre-match build-ups. Don't kill yourself for this
No,
one,
I'm
please. You
grand.
sound like you're in a similar place Dave is. Donna Vision, sir, you're in. Glasses are off. You were looking very intimidating beforehand. In the back end, but here you are to intimidate some Manchester United players and team. How are you, sir?
Hey, big up everybody. Yeah, an illustrious panel. Nice company this morning early for us. What is it? 5:40 in the morning here in Canada. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the home crowd. That's a good stadium. We seem to get behind this team, and it was kind of a rough last two results. Like everybody at the club now can be focused on what's ahead, and we have a league finish, maybe mid-table, hopefully in the top 10, and maybe a solid run of Europe. I'm looking back to that Poch season where nobody really gave us a chance. We were out of both cups, and we were playing the likes of like Kyle Walker-Peters and Jan Foyth and those youngsters. And when the main players in that team came back, like the Vertonghen's and the Alderweirelds, and remember Sonny carried us during that point. Now we have a young Matisse Tell, so that was a nice goal. I mean, outside the boot, Martinez is a really world-class goalkeeper. So yeah, it'll be good to see what anyone can do at home. I'm hoping we can do something. Onana's mistakes, he's always good for a mistake. So if we can kind of pounce on that, hopefully we can get something. I don't know. I'm not going to be happy clapping, but we need a positive result at home here. So.
Well, let's get to some people in the house. Hopefully everybody's feeling okay, feeling pretty positive about today. We've had a nice little break from Tottenham Hotspur, and now we get to play the mighty Manchester United, a team that we've done very well against recently. And also we have a good record against the Manchester teams in general this season. But I'm going to get to some people in the house, then we'll get this show underway. We have Danny Darko in here. Oi, oi, kois, big up lads and ladies. Nothing but a win today for me. Much needed points on the board. 3-1 Spurs. Well, we have some conversations about that, Danny, about kind of people just saying, do we just have to start picking up wins now that the injuries have, in a way, subsided and some people are starting to return? Berbatov is in the house. Good to see you, Dan. Kois. Stevie Frazier, fellow midfielder and wingers in there as well. Good to see you, Stevie. And then Nick Carey saying, good afternoon, all. I'm done with Spurs ruining my mental state, so I'm taking a back seat from caring so much. I hope we win, of course, but I'm battle hardened now. So what will be. Come on, you Spurs. You're probably a good mentality to have, Nick. What I will say, I think, is that if you really do achieve that sort of rhino-like skin that I think, Drew has said before, or some people have said before about Spurs fans, it's that you sort of maintain, the same level of caring. It's just that, you kind of go into it like a goldfish almost every single time around where, you kind of forget about, maybe the previous drama and the previous misery. You just go into it sort of just fresh mind, sort of goldfish mentality. That's what I would say, Nick. Swim Masters in here as well. Good to see you. DB is in the house. Always appreciate your support, DB. Mono Owl, great name as well. Daddy Biddy, good to see you. Arv Hotspur, good to see you. Thomas is in the house, our man out in Norway. He's saying, pick up everyone. Hope you are doing well in the chat. Pick up Jack and Dave. Come on, you Spurs. Thank you, Thomas. And then K32 saying, hello, Jack and Dave and all the Spurs army. Hope everyone is doing well. This is the best channel for Spurs, and I love it. Win, lose, or draw. Thank you, K32. Glad that we appeal to you in all states of Spurs' form. Sean Brown saying, this is going to be an interesting match, but after this last few weeks, we need a win. And so once again, I say, come on, you Spurs. You always got to be singing that from the rooftops, my man. Good to see you, Mungie32. Jay Mead is in here with us. DJ AK saying, come on, you Spurs. Big up, lads. Let's go. Good to see you, DJ. Get on the beats today, sir, especially if we get a win. And then Dark Sun G, very, very generous, my friend. and good to see you this morning. He's saying, come on, you Spurs. Man United without Mainu, Diallo, or I think Amad Diallo, Martinez, and maybe even Ugarte is a huge plus for us. If we play with intensity, we should run over this Man United midfield and win comfortably. Plus, Madison, Udogie, Vicario, maybe even Johnson and Wilson could be back on the bench. Throw this one to you, Soren. I mean, it's kind of nice for a change to see the other team maybe struggling with injuries as much as we are. Maybe even you could say that Man United have more of an injury problem at the moment than we do.
Well, if you listen to some of our fans, all these injured players that we've had out shouldn't make a difference. So shouldn't make a difference for Man U, should it? You know, I mean, look, injuries in any team make a big difference. Look at Man City with one player out. You know, it's crippled them. But I'm not bothered about Man United. It's all about us. I'm a true believer that on our day, when we play well, we can beat anybody. And when it all clicks. And today we've got a couple of players coming back. They've had a bit of a rest. And now's the time to see what these players should have been playing like. Look, they've been knackered. There's no doubt about it. And when you're tired, your focus is gone. Your ability's gone. You soon put your head down. Hopefully, these players are recharged, ready to go. And doesn't matter who Man United put out in front of us. If we play our game and we play well, then we should win them. Full stop.
I think, in today's game, Dark Sun G, I think, Spurs should probably be going into this one with the boost of all these guys returning. You'd hope that, the guys around the club and the squad would, see the returns of guys like Madison, potentially even Johnson and others, and just, feel like an extra boost, sort of, and maybe a bit of a, kind of a kickstart, to try to pick themselves up. Because in recent games, they really have looked like a team that's just so dead on their feet. In my opinion, it looks like they're really losing confidence at the same time, but most people just think they're just dead on their feet, really fatigued. And getting guys like this back for us could be a huge boost to them. And even just getting those days off, right? This is the first time in a while that we've had, this long of a period off. And Man United are finally tasting what we've been having to go through this year, Dark Sun G. So it is good to see, man. And we'll see how it levels the playing field this time around. Then again, we didn't even need, the extra sort of players, out for Man United last time we played them. So hopefully we can get it done this time around. Good to see Jack Bloom. Good to see John Graham. Rudy Toots in the house. Big up all. Watching with friends who are Man United. None of us is very hopeful. Both teams expect to lose. Can't have saying get well soon, Dave. Shemtan saying afternoon all to the dynamic duo Sleepy Jack and hopefully feeling better. Dave, hope you're both well. Hello to Derma, Johnson, Donovan, Drew, and Soren. Thank you, Shemtan. Very, very kind of you. Artist T, Dropkick Your Teacher. Hopefully you're doing okay. He's saying get well soon, Dave. Patty Villa's in the house. Pick up everyone. Big 4-1 incoming. Love that prediction. You don't always get, the 4-1s. Get more of the 4-0s, it seems like, on this panel. Mark McDermott's in the house. Jamie Fitman, Cantab, Mud FC, Dermatron's in here. Adrian Troca's in here. Good to see you, Dave H. as well. 1960. Pick up Jack and all in the panel and all in the chat. Come on, you Spurs. Alberto saying, hey, Jack and Derm. I'm in Germany, but obviously still watching, of course. Come on, you Spurs. Where's Dave? Hashtag sad face. Dave is still under the weather, man. I'm sorry. I can't summon him from his sickness at the moment. I'm trying my best, but tell me where you are in Germany. I've only really been to Berlin and Munich and maybe Leipzig for like a day, but tell me where you are in Germany. Hopefully you're having a great time, and let me know if you are in Berlin, if you need any recommendations. Skunkworks is in here. Futures bright, futures lily white. We are Spurs TV. We have ice coating everywhere in the Northeast. Come on, you Spurs, US. Yeah, I've heard that. It's a big bad snowstorm. Pretty much everywhere. It was even snowing in Seattle for a good period. Stevie Frazier, remember to like the stream. Thank you very much, Stevie. And I think I'm probably missing somebody, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for joining me this evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. It's Spurs match day, and it's been a while since we played, so hopefully we can manifest some sort of positive vibes ahead of this one. But let's get into it here, everybody. Now that there are fewer fixtures to worry about and players are returning back from injury, is it realistic to start expecting this team to pick up some wins? Drew, I'm going to throw that one towards you. My mom told me just the other day, she was like, you guys haven't played in a while and you're playing a big team. Surely you're going to win now. So what do you think? Are we going to start picking up some wins?
No, big up mum. That's all I can say. I think she's on the right track. I think, fingers crossed, if But if players can come back and they don't need too much drip feeding and they're kind of somewhat ready to go, like Soren said, my brother from another mother. Apparently, somebody mentioned in the chat that we look very similar. We've been separated at birth. There's a family treasure we've both been sent to look for. I took the Americas, he took Europe. So that's the backstory on that one. But yeah, I've just got a feeling there's still the potential to do something. If we can get a win today, if we can get 3 points on the board, I think that puts us up to maybe 12th, the dizzy heights of 12th. So it's not inconceivable. If we start putting a run together, it's not inconceivable we could finish top half. And I've still got one eye on that European trophy, man. I can't until it's not possible anymore. We're going to Bilbao. So yeah, I'm very, very positive this half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Soren? My mom was telling me that we should be winning this game. Big game, big team. We've done well against the bigger teams technically this year, but then also we had a nice little break. Players are returning. Is my mom right by suggesting that we should be winning this game?
I mean, there was a thing going round recently. North London is Lily White, so is Manchester. Enough said.
Brilliant.
Well,
there's look. I have no doubt in my mind we are going to win today. It's just which one of us is right on the scoreline.
Yeah. Is there anyone here that doesn't think they're in a worse position than we are?
I think they're absolutely knackered.
I actually had a question on that later about just sort of the
Sorry.
judging of the
There
clubs.
you go, fair
No,
play.
it's fine. I actually think there are more similarities than you even think there are differences between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur, but we'll get into that. I'll throw this one towards you, Donovan. Some fans have indicated that with the players returning and there being fewer games now that Ange has to deal with, they've kind of have suggested that the excuses will run out for Ange Postecoglou. Has Ange been using more excuses or explanations for the bad form that we were in? And I'm not sure if you know what I mean, because I've been seeing a lot of that recently from fans kind of saying, now that the players are returning, now that there are fewer games, excuses will run out. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's excuses, just more of raw honesty. Like the whole situation has been exposed and it's just been strung through the mud and dragged through for the last 3 weeks now. Like the fact that Archie Gray hasn't broken down is nothing short of a miracle. And if what you're saying earlier, Drew, pack your bags, pack your suntan lotion, we're going to Bilbao. That's crazy, man. Like, I really hope so. We can win a Europa League, and that'll be worth it at the end, hey? I've heard rumors that Cudi Romero's played his last game for Tottenham Hotspur, and that's all in, like, a big stirring pot of shit that's been going on for a long time. So, yeah, we're going to win today, but we had to really go through the trenches for that one. We can pick up some momentum. I don't even know when does knockout football start, another month. So that gives us like a solid run to give these players like Van de Ven a return. I don't know. Danzo seems okay. Everyone says he's panicked. At least he can play those passes, like those hard direct passes, and keep the ball going forward, and keep the Ange ball ticking, keep the gears moving. At home will be too much for them. But no, it's not excuses. It's not excuses. It's just raw honesty. I saw that interview on Sky Sports there he did with that lovely. I don't remember her name, but they got really honest, and I mean that, and you have to like ignore all the outside voices and the people that have so much to say. Like Jamie Carragher, he's so yappy, man. Like Jamie Carragher always has something to say. Like why do you have something to say, dude? Like you can't even get into this Liverpool squad, like if you played in your prime. So like you gotta just put your head down, put the blinkers on, and focus on what you have to do. And yeah, and he did say he always wins something in the second season. So that'd be crazy if we won the Europa League. Like that'd be absolutely crazy. So we have to do that. We have to do that this season. And until that happens, then you can question Ange. That's where I'm at. So
Second test of your voice, Dermatron. Do you think they're excuses or explanations that Ange has been using?
Look, I think they're explanations. I don't think they're excuses, because any team can have injuries. You look at Man City; they lost one player, as Soren said. and they've been fucked. They've been derailed completely. We've had more injuries than I ever remember in my life supporting Tottenham Hotspur. I've never seen an injury crisis like this. Yeah, you can say Bournemouth have had the same amount of injuries. You could say Newcastle have had near enough the same amount of injuries. But I just think the way we play, the way that Ange wants to play, and the way we're set up, we depend on these players for this system to work. I think he's just been dealt a really bad hand. I just really do. I think we must have ran over a cat, broke windows, or walked under the nearest ladder. We've had nothing but bad luck. The last season I remember this, I keep going back to it, was 96, 97. We lost Gary Mabbott, our captain, in the first game of the season with a broken leg. And it just went on after that. So I don't think there are excuses. I think he's trying to explain this is what's happening. I don't think it's down to his training either. I just think it's just one of these freakish seasons that happens. And it's being more magnified because of where we are in the league. If
I tell you, do you know what? At this point, right, you could even basically switch excuses for Ange out, and you know that's basically if you think that they're excuses, then essentially you probably sit on the side of Ange out.
Yeah,
and if you
100%.
don't, then you probably sit on the side of Ange in.
I mean,
So it's at this point it's agenda driven. So it doesn't even really matter. Like there's certain
So then
fans,
is it fair, Drew, to expect him to start picking up wins straight away? You know, that's kind of my follow-up to this.
I mean, you would think if with a stronger squad, you would obviously hope that you start to pick up more points. But let's just I'm sorry to cut off on you, Dermo, but I woke up yesterday with a bee in my bonnet, and I found a website where you can basically select a player and you can select their teammates, and you can see exactly how many minutes and how many games they've played with every other person in their career. And if you play around with the Tottenham Hotspur squad, apart from Sonny and Ben Davies, I don't think I found a pairing that had more than about 50, 60 games Premier League played between them. Then you go to Arsenal and you click on the likes of just like William Saliba, and he's played 100 odd times with Gabriel next to him. Martin Odegaard played 150 times with some of his teammates. And then you go back to Spurs, and especially this last run of games that we've just had where we've been bare boned and we've had a new keeper and we've had a new centre-back and a new winger. And you look at the amount of minutes and game time played between these players, and I don't know what anybody else expects. I really don't. And I just, you know, I'm not that I ever try to convince people anyway, but I just, if you're so Ange out that you're just willing to sit there and almost will your own team to a negative result just because you want this guy gone, then fair enough, man, fair enough. But I just choose to sit here and be a little bit more optimistic. And I would like to think that with the players coming back, if they can hit the ground running or give us anything that remotely looks like 60, 70% up to 80, 90% over the next few games, I think we've all been there and we've all seen the potential that this team has got. And I don't know, for me, when we've won big, it's because we've been on the right track and we've seen the potential. And when we've lost these 1-0 games and 2-1 to Ipswich, it's because we're a baby bird in its infancy trying to learn how to fly, while everybody else is already up in the clouds. So I don't know, man. I guess I got to have patience with it and I got to see it through. And I genuinely think when they start coming back, we might see something different. And if we don't, then fair enough. I guess change has to be made, but I'm just nowhere near there yet, you know.
I mean,
I just want to finish off my point, Jack. Sorry, I just want to finish my last point. If we were higher in the league and we had these injuries, would we be complaining about them or using them as an excuse?
Oh, we're not higher in the league.
No, but if we were higher in the league, if the players that come in kept the consistency going, kept the winning going when we're up in 6th or 7th place or 5th place, do you know, would we be you know, would we be complaining wanting Ange out? Probably not. I think where we are in the league and out of 2 cups has a hell of a lot to do with it, and the way we've been playing as well. So
that just sounds like, you know, if I were 6'10" and, you know, had, you know,
Yeah, I know.
400K, I'd be in the NBA. But, you know, Dermo, it seems like, you know, that's just too much. That's far too much, you know, sort of ifs, buts, and maybes for me. We are, in fact, at the bottom of the table. We have lost a lot of the games, and a lot of people would make the point that we lost a lot of those games before we even had any of those injuries in the first place. But I mean, Soren, what do you make of the fact that some Spurs fans have indicated, got to start picking up wins now, you know, no more excuses? What do you make of that argument?
I think it's quite a valid point. I mean,
really, because, you know, the rest of the panel seems to think it's harsh on Ange.
I think if you're going to sit there, and I mean, I'm putting myself in the same boat, and we're going to say that the injuries have been a big factor towards us not picking up points. When you start to get your players back, you need to start picking up points. Otherwise, it wasn't the injuries that was the problem. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, we've had 2 players come back and we should suddenly win today because of that. That's not the case. I mean, the big ones that we're missing is Romero and Van der Ven. You know, when we start getting players like that back, then you start to think, well, this is the team. This is our first starting 11. Say we need to start picking points up. If we get the players back and we're still dropping points, then you've got to start looking deeper into it. I mean, I don't think there's any argument against that because, you know, while we're all sitting here, or, you know, some of us are sitting here saying, look, the squad is knackered. We've got no first team players hardly. Give us a break. When you've got them all back, if we're still dropping down the league and not picking up any points, then you have to. There's no other choice than look at the system, the manager, or the players. There's no more excuses. You know, you can't go out there and with a full squad of players and be in the position that we're in now and say, oh, it's, you know, it's not my fault. It is. But at the moment, there is an excuse. There is a reason. There are reasons that we're not doing very well. But yeah, once those reasons have gone, if it doesn't improve, then I'm sorry, but yeah, we've got to start looking at the system, the management, and everything else. You know, that there are no excuses.
Dermotron, it seems like, you know, you want to bow out. I mean, you sound like,
Yeah.
you know, the worst I've ever seen you on this panel, and you've already put in
I've
a million
I've
shifts for us before, so I think, you know, we can give you the pass this one time. Only kidding. But Dermo, give yourself a plug, sir, and thanks for giving it an effort.
Yeah, we're well, if you want to know me, Colin will be doing the watch along today. I'm just going to be sitting in the background celebrating when we win. But yeah, get over to THFC till I die. We've got over there at the moment the Arsenal Tottenham Ladies North London Derby streaming so kindly of our YouTube partner, Full Time Sports Network. Yeah, and we've got debates coming up. We have shows coming up, so get over there. We're looking to get up to 2,100 before the end of the season, so that'd be a nice little way to end the season. Thanks again, Jack and the lads. It's always a pleasure with you lads, all legends. Sorry, stop following me around. I might have to take a training order against you.
I've got an AirPod in your back pocket, there, so I can see where you're going.
You know where I am all the time. Listen, good lads. Have a great show, and yeah, and please like and subscribe here as well. Thanks.
Feel better, Dermo, man. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Take care of yourself, buddy. Have a good one, man.
Soon.
Yeah.
Well, everybody do follow over to THFC Till I Die. Show that guy some love. He's put in a million shifts on his channel for the pre-match build-up. I'm pretty sure he's welcome to have some time off, especially Dave, too. It looks like, you know, something's really passing around Ireland at the moment. That does not sound good. You know, that sort of flu. It doesn't sound too great. But please, everybody, follow over to Dermatron, THFC Till I Die. Show him some love. I'm going to move on from the excuses conversation now over to the Spurs fans have also been split over whether the players have been putting in their all in some of these games. We've seen them collapse to the floor, you know, after games, which would suggest that they are putting in their all. But then we also just saw Bentancur give up on a goal, you know, in the Aston Villa game. So what do we make of the fact of maybe the Spurs players? What is their buy-in right now with Ange Postecoglou? Soren, I kind of saw you. Actually, I haven't gone to Donovan, so I'll go to Donovan first. But Donovan, I mean, what do you make of that? Do you think the Spurs players are giving their all? Because you could also look at the Bentancur example, right, of a guy
It's just
giving
the whole
up. So,
philosophy. It's just the whole philosophy how they're playing. Like, why is Porro trying to keep the ball in possession on the goal line? It's like, no, you got to clear it, get it out of here, man. Like, get it to Rosette. I'm looking back to like Kyle Walker, and like Danny Rose, and their first thought was just clearance. Like, you're defender first, right? And I saw your pretty much built up there, your projected lineup of, and someone else compared them, Destiny Doji and Jed Spence, to our modern day Kyle Walker and Danny Rose, how they can get up and down, up and down. And it's like, yeah, Bentancur might have looked like he gave up, but it's like Poro's like on the back line there. Like, why is he trying to keep it in possession, keep the play? It's like Ange Ball's like, keep ball, playing dangerous possessions, but it's like, no, get it off the line, just clear it, get it gone. But yeah, the players are obviously giving it everything, but I'm
are they
hearing
doubting the
rumors.
system? Is that what you're suggesting?
There's like definitely a split in there. Like, I hear rumors that it's Cudi Romero's last game for Tottenham Hotspur. Like, he's never going to play for the club again, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, how long can you be out from a thigh injury that barely happened? He went to do a basic, like, cheeky turn in the box. Like, you don't do your quad that intensely for that long. Like something's going on there, man. So I don't know. We're sitting at the bottom of the barrel. Like, it's rough. I looked at like the rest of the season, and I only see us dropping points really again against Liverpool. Like, I don't see us beating Liverpool at all this season. So in the league, 64 points. I mean, like, what does that get us? Mid-table, upper mid-table. So yeah.
I mean, Soren, what do you make of the fact of Donovan suggesting that maybe there is a split in the squad when it comes to belief in what Ange is trying to tell them to do? Donovan sort of did say that, for the most part, they are giving their all, like they are trying, but they maybe don't necessarily believe in the system, which is a key point.
I kind of look at it and think, I mean, there's been arguments from certain sections of our fans that he'd lost the dressing room a year ago, and then 8 months ago, then 6 months ago, then 3 months ago, then 2 months ago, then last month. Every time we lose, he's lost the dressing room. And yet you'll see them come out in the second half and run around like, the players are knackered. And I honestly do think it's fatigue. I mean, it's hard to explain some of the injuries. I get that. And going on what Donovan said there about Romero, again, we don't always get told the truth sometimes, but as far as Postecoglou's concerned, both Van der Ven and Kuti will be back in March. Now, I would argue if Romero wasn't going to play again, then there would just be, we don't know when Romero is going to be back. Now, if he's stating that he should be playing again in March, then you kind of think that maybe he is going to play again for us. I wouldn't be surprised if his head has been turned and he goes in the summer. Certainly wouldn't. And look, in a system like this where all of a sudden the team's crumbling and morale is low, they're all tired, injuries are left, right, and centre, then there's always going to be one or two players that get disillusioned. I mean, it's just the way of life. But I would argue with anybody, the majority of the squad is still fully behind Ange Postecoglou. Whether they're giving 100%, that's maybe is the argument. Maybe they're not, but I still think he's got the dressing room. I still think he's got the belief in most players. I mean, I would agree. Look, he's gone out with, I think it was a thigh injury, wasn't it, or was it the calf?
In Romero's case,
yeah.
Like his upper thigh.
I mean, Postecoglou's come out and said that, it's not the first time he's had the injury, it's a recurring injury, so they're being careful with it. Now, look, we all maybe doubt whether he's Tottenham first. I mean, he's certainly Argentina first, definitely, but I still think he likes the team. I think he likes playing for the club. Well, if he doesn't play again, he doesn't. That, you know, I think when you look at a lot of the rumours that are going out there, they are spread by people that just want to split the fan base even more. And we've seen so long, I mean, all the ITKs and all this lot telling us who we're going to sign, and they're imminent and all this lot, and then we don't sign any of them, and then they're telling us that Van der Ven is supposed to have been having a surgery. Well, you know, that's been rubbished by the club and by Postecoglou, saying there's never been any discussions about him having surgery. So who, you know, what are we supposed to believe? The best thing to do is take it game by game. If Postecoglou is telling us both Romero and Van der Ven will be fit to play come March, then you hold him to it. If all of a sudden Romero gets another injury or Van der Ven, then you start asking, you know, you start looking into it. But for me, you know, I mean, I see certain fans out there calling Postecoglou a liar, and you know, there's absolutely no proof of this. So you know, you've got to take these people at face value. And when Van der Ven played again, you know, that half in Europe, he came off. He looked all right. Some things maybe tweaked, you know. And I would dare say with somebody like Van der Ven, it's probably a mental thing as well. Might not be that he needs surgery. It might not be that he's actually injured. It might just be that he's mentally scared to run again. And I get that. You know, with these type of players, and I mean, Donovan and Drew might be able to tell us better, but I think one of the sports that has the most hamstring injuries is baseball, because you've got that sudden explosion of speed. And that's what Van der Ven does. That's what Ben and Johnson does. That's what all these players that are going down with hamstrings, it's the same. They are that type of player. And mentally, if you've had 2 or 3 times your hamstrings gone, you're not going to be mentally prepared to come back as strong as you were for a long time. And that's the way I look at it with Kuti and with Romero, with Kuti and Van der Ven, that they are just being very precautious with them. And that's the way I see it. I think he will play again, and I think Van der Ven will come back, and I think we'll go on a bit of a spree of winning this season, and we will finish top 10. We will lift the European Cup, and everything will be rosy at Tottenham Hotspur.
There you go.
I'm in the same boat, Soren. Just to answer my own question.
Yeah, I'll throw a third one in there. Daniel Levy will sell the club at the end of the season, and we'll all be happy.
Talk about the kahuna trophies there. Just to answer my own question on it, I don't think the majority of the players have been that guilty of, not giving their all. I think they are, for the most part, trying their hardest. I do wonder, though, if Donovan's right, that there maybe is still a slight split, or even if there are a few key players in that team that don't fully believe in the system that much anymore. Like, they are good enough players. They're good enough, maybe people, humans, that they will give their all. Like, they'll, it's not like they'll let down Ange by, not trying, but they will have maybe already those seeds of doubt about whether the system is working. And that's because we haven't won a lot of games, and we are in such poor form that, it just kind of eventually makes you doubt. It eventually makes you want to sort of think about things a bit differently. Are we being set up to fail, or is there maybe too big a gaps in the wide areas or down the middle, et cetera, et cetera? And that's my worry right now, is maybe the players are giving their all, but do they actually believe in the system fully? And I guess we'll find out, though. I just had another question, though, about, I brought this up earlier. Manchester United, fans have complained that Ruben Amorim has been so stubborn and doesn't adapt to the players and the conditions that he has in front of him. Where have we heard this before, lads? Is this who we are, mate derby? Between Ruben Amorim and Ange Postecoglou, because Amorim, he hasn't changed his system. He came in, he said, listen, I'm getting rid of this player, This is my system. This is how I do things. Man United fans have called him stubborn. They said it's boring football. They're saying, he's not adapting to the situation that's in front of him. Is this the it's who we are, mate derby? Drew, you chuckled.
Just the who we are, mate derby made me laugh.
Is that true? Am I correct in saying it kind of is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay too much attention to other teams. I mean, I've looked at them and I've seen them not doing, not being great. I have seen a couple of his press conferences where he's kind of doubled down. I just think it's a case of, I think Ange, for the most part, is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. If we win 4-0, 4-1 against somebody, it wasn't Ange. It was just that the players had a really good day and the team we were playing were terrible. If we lose, it's all on Ange and his tactics were wrong and it was nothing to do with anybody else but Ange. So when it comes to those, I mean, I can see their frustration. But for me, it comes down to, and I know Tottenham fans hate this word, but it comes down to patience. And I know that some people say, "Oh, but we haven't won a trophy," blah blah blah. Blah. But you got to understand, from my perspective, that when you start a great rebuild or a reset, or you build something, I mean, it doesn't. I just don't understand how people expect it to happen over the course of a disjointed 18 months. Like it baffles me. So I mean, I've got a lot of admiration for Amorim, just in the fact that he's saying, "Do you know what? I'm going to do it my way. They hired me. I'm not going to change. I need the players for my system, so that my system will work." But I guess it's different rules for him, because maybe he's a young, good-looking European guy that some people know from his playing days, and Ange is Ange. So I mean, I guess it's just one rule for one and one rule for another, Jack. Just such is life.
Did you nod your head at what I was saying, Donovan? The fact that, Man United fans, they're complaining about Amorim. He's not adapting. He's not adjusting to the conditions. He has certain players that he's not putting in the right positions. He's not setting up the team for success, with the circumstances he has in front of him. I mean, where have we heard this before?
Yeah, at least he's saying it, though, right? Like, he has the balls to come out in the media and be like, okay, well, yeah, I have these players, but they're not my players. Like, well, whereas Ange is going to try and, like, I don't want to call him a yes man, but he always has something. You can always just go with whatever Levy gives him. And I mean, Timo Werner, what's going on with him? I thought he wanted and Antonio Conte wanted him to replace, what's his name, Cadio, whatever, So I don't know, man. Odegaard back, that's going to be nice to see. I'm excited to see that. But no, I didn't want to say it was like a split fan base, a split locker room. But like, what happened to Madison? Like, Madison, like, first 10 games last season was untouchable. Like, he was the best player in his position. Like, Jude Bellingham was on a different level, but so was James Madison, right? And so it's like he completely fell off the face of this planet. Like, we haven't seen him. So the return of James Madison to the system is going to be really crucial at this part of the season. Hopefully he comes back firing like we know he can. But yeah, just reinforcements, man. Reinforcements. Like, we held the brigade, we held the trench, and now the reinforcements are coming in, and hopefully it's not too little too late, because how many times have you won the Europa League? 4 times? Was it 4 times? 3 or 4 times? I don't know, Drew, I guess our history master, the guy who left there, the guy.
Yeah, Dermatron left, isn't it? I think it's. I feel like Soren's older than me, and he should know.
Each person's putting each other on the spot. Each person.
You cheeky bastard. Hang on. It's terrible because we should. Poor show, Tottenham supporters. None of us actually know. I'm going to have a look online. I thought it was 3, but I could be in the mud completely.
Either way, though, like, to finish it all off with the trophy would be great. So, no, James Madison, man, for me, that's a big one. That's a big one going into this game for me, is I want to see his performance, and hopefully he gets thrown in at the deep end, because, like, there's Lucas Bergvall, man. Like, I've seen the clips of he was playing in stadiums of like 4,000 people, man.
My bad.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was 3 times.
It's twice, eh? So yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway,
I'm a young one. I wasn't even alive for one of them. I don't know.
Maybe on to the next question here. Soren, do Manchester United and Spurs have more in common than we might realize? Here's the list that I came up with. Both clubs and fans are experiencing owner-fan tensions, right? When Manchester United fans, they hate their owners. And also, they've gone through many manager cycles. And you could argue with both clubs, the manager cycles seem to be getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And then another thing is, both fan bases have complained about either a lack of investment or the investment just being poor, right? Not buying the right players for the right manager, for the right system. Club identity and reputation fading and fading and fading. You see Spurs fans saying, that's not a club anymore. Or, they use the quote, saying, oh, there used to be a football club over there. Manchester United, the classic lines of this is supposed to be Manchester United Football Club happening over and over and over again. And then also disappointing season after disappointing season. So Manchester United and Spurs, do they have more in common than we might realize?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I think it's a yes and a no answer.
Who's worse off?
Who's worse off?
I don't need to throw too many questions at you, sorry.
Personally, I would rather have the setup of Tottenham than Man United. I think we've got owners that, yes, they are not doing great on the pitch, but they are building an absolute mega brand of Tottenham Hotspur with everything. If the on-pitch comes right, then Tottenham Hotspur is an absolute major player. The problem is on the field is absolutely shit at the moment. You look at Man United, and I would say, I don't know what is good about that club. They've got an aging stadium. Their owners have absolutely crippled the club with debt. Yes, they keep spending money. I mean, that's the one good thing that they do. They do concentrate on buying players and spending money on the pitch, but it's not working. And I mean, you look at some of the managers that they've had. Tottenham fans were screaming out for some of those managers, Van Gaal, Amorim. Now, these are managers that Tottenham fans wanted at one point. So if they've failed at Man United, what were they ever going to do at Tottenham Hotspur? But as a club, we have failed massively on the pitch. I don't think anybody could argue against that. But I would say, as a whole package, which I know a lot of the fans are interested in, business side and things like that, then we are miles ahead of Man United. If we can click on the pitch, if we could get the right manager in with the right players, we could be an absolute force. And whether it'll happen, I don't know. I hope it does. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of similarities. Neither of us can string a decent game together. Neither of us can go ahead and put a string of matches together where get some points on the table. But hopefully we will start today. And it's one of those that the game could be so bad it could be funny. That's the problem with today.
I could understand the argument that maybe Manchester United will still always have that incredible pull. Just quickly, I have to spam this person.
I mean,
honestly, this person who's spamming all day today, I'm impressed by your willpower, but I'm also impressed by your lack of purpose in life. Because seriously, a few times I usually don't notice, but at this point, the fact that you're still doing this 50 minutes in, and it's genuinely impressive at this point, the lack of sort of purpose or anything going on in your life by the looks of things. But on to my question of, the similarities between the club. I feel like Manchester United will always still have that sort of Yankees, kind of vibe to them, where they always will have that pull of just brand recognition. I actually think Spurs do have a lot of similarities with them when it comes to the fan kind of tensions and the fan frustrations around the club, just continuing to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. But I will say this, Manchester United have probably more problems, I think, on both sides, both off the pitch and on the pitch, than it seems like with Spurs. With Spurs, it's always just been the case that we just feel like Daniel Levy just doesn't seem to give as much of a shit about the stuff on the pitch as he does off the pitch. Off the pitch, we're one of the best run clubs in the business, if not the best run club. On the pitch, we continue to see the same problems. Whereas with Man United, you'd say that off the pitch, you see the stadium is leaking. You're talking about, various things, that have needed to be remodeled, needed to be refurbished for like a long time now. You talk about just sort of various club revenue streams, even though they are still Manchester United and make a lot of money, they could definitely be making a whole lot more. there are various things, off the pitch that seem to be a big issue there. Whereas with Spurs, I wouldn't know if that's the case. So I guess just in our situation, it's like, when will we, eventually stop repeating some of the same sort of mistakes of, constantly, hiring and firing managers, not buying in the right areas or investing enough in the right areas. But it is kind of interesting that I think on the pitch, there's so many problems. Maybe you could have some hope for Manchester United or for Spurs, and that perhaps our problems off the pitch are nowhere near as severe. The difference is Man United still win trophies, says Nick Carey. But that's the thing, right? Is even you look at Ten Hag from the previous seasons, it's kind of interesting that, they stuck with the guy, kind of just in the belief that, oh, well, if he won a trophy, like maybe he'll push on, and he'll be able to collectivize and bring all the players in together. That was the opposite, right? That just didn't happen. So it did show that even though Man United still won those trophies, I think they're still in deeper free fall than they were, a couple of seasons ago. The trophies only kind of masked, the problems that already were there. That's only my opinion, though. But I can move on to next bit of questions unless anybody had any other thoughts on that one. All right. How much of a boost will this needed 1 week break be for Spurs? Will we be a whole new team now, just playing liquid football, Ange ball? Will we start to see the best of Tottenham Hotspur again now that we've had that 1 week break? Donovision, throw that one to you, sir. Is it realistic to just start seeing free flowing Ange ball again?
No. I'm just looking forward to seeing Matthias Tell. Like, I hope we can take his option too, because that was a really nice finish, man. First start, first goal, especially in front of the home crowd and the home faithful, and the league game too. So it's going to mean something. It's the Premier League, and that's all our focus is really on now. We can see all the games out of us now going into the final part of the season, which is crazy because we had such high hopes, 4 cups, and now we're only in 2. Realistically, only 1. So for me, Matthias Tell, all eyes are on Tell. Go tell it on a mountain.
Soren, what do you make of the fact that some people are expecting liquid Ange ball to come back already?
Yeah, I think I agree with Donovan there. Look, we're going to get a couple of players back. Possibly Vicario, not going to make a difference to Ange ball, is it? Udogie possibly might not start, but if he does, will certainly help. And Maddison, hopefully if he does start and is fit enough to start and is on, comes back with a little bit of a vengeance, then maybe we'll see a little bit more creativity. But we're not going to see, those games where we've come out and we've looked absolutely superb. And, I think that 1 or 2 games over the last 2 years, not many, obviously, but, when it has clicked and we've looked brilliant, we're not going to see that. I don't think there's any fans really out there that are that delusional to think getting 2 or 3 players back is going to make that much. Oh, you do? Well,
maybe. Maybe.
Look, I think with the rest, if the players are a little bit more up for it, a little bit more fresh, we're going to see more of an Ange ball game, definitely. But it's not going to be that absolutely free-flowing game that we have seen here and there on occasion. Right. It's going to be remnants of it. And I do think we'll see more closing down and things like that, which is supposedly Ange ball. But I also think, that from the end of the game, we could still see a little bit of tiredness. I just hope we get through the game and it's a half-decent performance. And the only thing that matters at the end of it is 3 points.
I think, sort of expect liquid football to be coming back again could be a bit of a stretch because at the moment, these players, to me at least, look very devoid, of any confidence. Perhaps, the return of certain players could be a big boost to their confidence, but the way they looked after Aston Villa and the way they looked after Liverpool, you have to remind yourselves this looked like a team that's pretty dead on its feet and a team that also, I think, started to maybe even give up at certain points in the game, like we saw with Bentancur, or perhaps even questioning the system. So to expect there just to be liquid football again, I think could be a big stretch. But it seems like some people are kind of just thinking that there will be, once the players come back, we'll just start playing some liquid stuff again. I'm not too sure if that's the case. You lose that many games in a row, you lose that many big games also in a bad way. I think, you start to see, people incapable basically of picking up, just some perfect Ange ball again. I just think that will take a long time before that, can come back. Or you need to, I guess, find a way to win today, and then maybe you start to get some buy-in back from the players to start playing some of that better stuff. But I am curious, as to whether people are just expecting this just to be liquid football again. Personally, I'm not too sure. I did have a tactical question though, lads, and maybe I'll throw this one at Donovan and Drew here. Ruben Amorim's team sets up in a 3-4-3 shape with those fullbacks, tucking very, very wide, on the touchline. We've seen that Ange's defensive shape really does struggle, sometimes with those big switches of play, balls in behind the back line, and just guys that do hug those wide areas. Do we think that, this is going to be a team that, despite not being very good, this Manchester United side, could they catch us out maybe on a tactical level because they play maybe a shape that you could argue kind of naturally is maybe an antithesis to Ange's, team, which plays very, very narrow. Anybody have any thoughts on the tactical kind of aspect of things between, these two teams? Donovan, go to you, then go to Drew.
Oh, it's going to be a passing game of like, we're going to pass them to death in the first half if we can't break that early goal, because they're away from home. They have no problem sitting back with a back three, plus just lock with a back three and let us have the ball on the wing, and it'll come down to the 1v1 on that fullback. And with the two youngsters out, what is it, Diallo and there's another one out there too. I forget the other one there. They're a youngster there, but it'll be very rigid Manchester United, and like they have no pace anymore. Can't believe Rashford went to Aston Villa. So we're going to see a very different United team away from home, coached by a very rigid manager. I think we joked about it, like who else do we know that's very rigid in their tactics? Will be us. So we'll have a lot of the ball. Mikey Moore has proven good to come off and really give good service into that back post. But no Richarlison, I don't think. How is he doing? He's not available for selection?
No, he's not available.
So it's going to be Matthias Tell for another 88 plus minutes. So, yeah, it'll be good to see how much space Matthias Tell is given in that final 18 yards. If he can get it on the deck and maybe shimmy a couple times and test Onana, that'll be nice. But no, we're gonna have a lot of the ball, and it's gonna be a lot of passing, a lot of backwards over in their half, and it might be something like probably high 60% possession. And again, that transition, does Danzo have the pace to cover in behind? Can he make those Van de Ven like recovery runs when we are in that high line and exposed? But because I don't know if it's going to be Ben Davies, give Archie Gray a young rest. Vicario just get thrown straight back into it. I want to jump in there and was saying how like even Ange came out and admit in the last press conference and that like this is like the first time they actually trained. Like we're able to like turn the intensity up with these players back and actually be able to like get the physical levels of where they needed to train and actually apply themselves. And watching that video of like them doing their agility movements and stuff, and Madison's not looking too fluid, man. Like Vicario's not saving everything, and there's that 10-minute clip of him in the drill. Like these players aren't going to come back and save us. This isn't going to be like, business as usual. I want to be happy clapping, come and win. We're going to win 4-0, 5-0. But pardon me, the truth of the matter is it's going to be like business as usual when it comes to these scrappy results. And it sucks because it's always seems to be like one ball. It's like one ball that's played on a diagonal, cut through us, and that's all it is to beat this amazing Ange ball. So it'll be an end-to-end game, and whatever team. Hopefully it's us. It's got to be us because there's no more excuses, right? So.
I mean, this question kind of comes from how many times have we seen Pedro Porro getting caught out on that right side, right? Either being far too narrow, far too tucked in, or just having no idea what's out there in those wide areas. And it seems like that's a constant in this system. In either it's a Pedro Porro problem or it's an Ange Postecoglou problem with his defensive shape. And I am curious if this Manchester United team or this system that Amorim has could expose that, because they already have guys that are hugging out in that touchline area, and then they have guys that sort of drift into the central areas. I think that's going to cause huge problems to Pedro Porro. And also, when I've watched Amorim's team, they tend to like that big switch of play. They tend to like, those big balls over the top if it's on. And I think, against the Spurs team, plenty of times it is on and you can't catch us out. So does anybody, again, Drew, maybe I'll go to you here. Do you have a concern about, sort of how, look at Pedro Porro in the last game against Aston Villa, man. He was getting roasted in that game. And we've seen that for a long time with Ange, that right side in particular seems to always get caught out. Do you think it's a Pedro Porro problem? Do you think it's an Ange problem? And do you think that, maybe Manchester United might take advantage of that?
I mean, Porro against Villa was dead on his feet. So I'm having a hard time. Porro against Liverpool was dead on his feet. I have a hard time really pinning this down. I say the proof will be in the pudding. If we can go out there and do something that resembles a press, which even Ange has admitted has been missing the last few weeks, because in the press conference after the Villa game, I mean, he kind of pleaded his case. I don't know what more there is to say about it, really, to be honest with you. So I would like to think, with a week's rest and a couple of days of actual training and a nice build up, that, I mean, these are professional footballers. Well, we think that Porro's had a week off and he's not going to come back and look better than he did against Villa. I mean, I just don't see it. So I think chances are probably I'm probably, we're going to go into the squads later on. I think he's going to ease Udogie back into it, and I think you'll end up with maybe Spence and Udogie splitting a half together, or maybe Spence getting 60 minutes on the left and then Udogie coming in, and then Spence moving over to the right, maybe give him the 90 minutes, give Porro 60 or 70. So I can see there being something like that happening. I just think having a 70-80% Vic back, somebody that maybe isn't fully fit in terms of game match fitness, but is, fit to play. I just think that is night and day between him and Kinsky. Kinsky's played what, four games? 4 games. With Danzo, he played 2 games. I mean, obviously, I know Vic hasn't played with Danzo yet, but like that nucleus over the last couple of games was so, just didn't understand what was going on. Like, there was no, I can't put it all on just that, like, players trying to get used to each other and having zero gas in their tank. So I would, I'm hoping for, I guess I'm the eternal optimist. I'm hoping for just something that resembles a little bit more freshness today. And I don't know. I think we're at home. Hopefully the crowd will get behind them, regardless of what's going on with protests. And I think I'm hoping today that we see something resembling Tottenham. And it might not be all guns blazing, but I'm optimistic that we're going to start seeing, the fruits of our labor finally just starting to come to fruition, or whatever the cliched saying might be.
That's fair. That's fair. I just to answer the question on my end of things, I personally think it's more of a system issue than it really is, Pedro Porro. I think Pedro Porro sometimes has some of the worst positioning I've seen, but from what I can tell, it looks like these guys are instructed to stay very, very narrow at times. And since we leave the midfield in games sometimes so exposed, where especially in that Aston Villa game where you had Tielemans, Morgan Rogers, McGinn, all just coursing through the midfield, pretty much unchallenged, at parts of the game. I think you then just leave your backline super exposed. The backline then has to sort of tuck in, stay really narrow, because if you end up staying wide, they can just play right through the middle of you. So then they have to go around you. But then once they're around you, there's still some danger areas, because every Premier League team has dangerous guys in those wide areas. So I personally think it's more of a system issue than it really is a Pedro Porro problem. But I will say this, Pedro Porro at times doesn't help himself out. I don't think he helps himself out. He can look really out of position. Even if he is being instructed to stay in, he sometimes will be like behind his own center back. He's like that far tucked inside. It's a little ridiculous, I think, in Porro's case. But personally, I think it still is more the system letting him down than anything. I did actually have to, sort of have some, sort of moment to talk about NordVPN. So anybody have any sort of final opinions or comments about that previous question or something prior that we were talking about?
I was just going to quickly say with Porro, I think it's his decision making has been very poor this season.
defensively and in possession. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but attacking as well. I mean, you see him going forward, and some of the times he's been shooting. You think, why? Why the hell are you having a shot from that position? Or that there's players open. Why aren't you looking up? And I mean, whether it's that mentality of everybody's down and people are trying to take it on their own shoulders, but I would like to see Porro drop today, and I would like to, depending how fit Udogie is, start with Spence on the right and Udogie on the left, and just give Porro a rest today. If he needs to come on, he comes on. But I would also like to see, I know we haven't mentioned it quite yet, but I want to see Archie Gray in that midfield, because I think that could make a big difference, and let Davis start with Danzo and Vicario in nets.
Yeah. No, they're two big calls there. Very good point, Soren. They're two big calls. I have a question on. One of them is about Jed Spence, whether will he start Jed Spence in this game, and how big of a mistake and how big of an outroar will there be if he doesn't? And then also Archie Gray, right? I think a lot of fans could be upset if Archie Gray doesn't get that chance in midfield. So very, very smart of you. I do have that on the run sheet just after this. Everyone, it is pinned at the top of the chat. It is time to talk about NordVPN. We have an exclusive partnership with them. You can use the code FLATCAP, and if you get yourself a 2-year plan, you can get 4 extra months free, 30-day money back guarantee as well. Just want to say this: nowadays, modern world, kind of do need a VPN. Most of the time when I've told people, hey, we have this deal with NordVPN, they kind of already tell me that they already have one. They can't even sign up for a new plan. They already do have a NordVPN deal for themselves, because nowadays when you're going on free Wi-Fi, when you're going to various places, and you're signing into a Starbucks or something like that, you're really not actually that safe. Even just recently, I actually had to get my debit card changed because I had a kind of a faulty sort of a transaction made. So nowadays, you can get your data stolen, get all these sort of security alerts, these type of things happening. It's good to make your sort of life, your sort of data, your online sort of security that bit much more secure. So having a VPN helps. And also, as a Spurs fan, allows yourself to save some money on watching Spurs. You can move yourself to a different country. I know for plenty of you guys in the UK, you have those 3 p.m. blackouts. If you have a VPN, you can avoid that. Move yourself to a different country, pick up a streaming service or a package someplace else, save a bit of money, and be able to watch the Spurs game no problem. And also then be able to avoid those dodgy websites, which we know can end up crashing your computer, or various other bad things can happen after that. So everybody, feel free, use the code FLATCAP, get yourself a 2-year plan, 30-day money back guarantee. You can share it amongst the whole family, so you only really need one plan in general anyways. You can share it up to 10 devices. But thank you so much, NordVPN. It's good to have them back with us for these match day festivities. I'm going to go on to now, some of the sort of protest arguments, and some of the conversations around that, and then we'll get to what Soren was talking about with the lineups. But protests for change for Tottenham will be taking place today, lads, before and after the game. They will be organizing a march before the game and a sit-in afterwards. Daniel Levy has reportedly been hurt by the protests and chants towards him. Do you think the sit-in will garner media attention towards the tensions between Levy and the fan base? How optimistic are we about the protest today, everybody?
I see one of us is going to have to stand up and say something. Look, I think there's
Plead the fifth if you like.
There is two very different sets of protesters at the moment. There's those that want Levy out, and then there's those that would happily protest for change at Tottenham, not necessarily needing Daniel Levy to leave. I think the problem with the protests in the past, and I would say for those that have stood on the protest lines, big up to you, because you've stood by what you believe. I don't agree with them, and I think a lot of people already know that. And I think the animosity by some of the protesters, not all of them, is what has made that fail. Now, a protest needs to look at not the ones that agree with them. They need to get the ones that don't agree with them on board. And that's been the problem, where there's been mud thrown both sides, those that agree and those that don't. And now Change for Tottenham have come on board, where they are looking to say it's not good enough. we need a change. We need to see progress at the club on the pitch, not off the pitch anymore. Then I really do hope there is a significant increase in the support for them, because it's a totally different style of protesting. And I don't think there are many Tottenham fans out there that do not agree with we need to see some change with the policies on the pitch. And hopefully it will be peaceful. Hopefully it will get a point over. Hopefully it will have plenty of media attention. And I just hope it goes off in the right way, because if it turns to carnage or whatever, you know, that they start arguing between themselves, they start arguing with fans that don't want to join them, it's not going to work. And unless they unite a fan base with wanting change in the team, in the playing squad, in the management, in the way we run the football inside, then it won't work. You know, it cannot no longer be, well, if you're not with us, you're the problem. If you don't agree with what we want, you're the problem. It's got to be, well, if you don't agree with us, what do you think? Why do you think differently? What is it you're happy with? What is it you're not happy with? That's what we're trying to change. This is what we're trying to change, and it needs to be done a little bit more diplomatically. But I do just hope. I hope they get the point across, and I hope they get the support they need for a change, because, you know, 50, 60 people stood on the other side of the road shouting, "We want Levy out," is never going to work. And people who think Daniel Levy will be hurt by those 50 or 60 people, bit different in a stadium when you've got 20 or 30,000 maybe singing it, and it suddenly becomes quite loud.
He really doesn't like it inside the stadium. That's true.
No, and look, you know, people say that he doesn't care about the club. I don't for 1 minute believe that. I don't think it's all entirely his fault. No, he's a chairman. I mean, I know he has shares and he's a part owner, but there is still somebody that's his boss, and he is doing work for somebody else still. And look, he has made so many mistakes. Let's not pretend that. Let's not say he's innocent in anything. But I think when you look at it, he has spent money. He has backed managers. He hasn't backed them in the right way, and he hasn't spent the money in the right way. That's his fault, and it's his advisor's fault. He employs people to advise him. Will Daniel Levy leave? No, not until he's ready. Will he change the way he's doing things? I think he already has started to change the way. Let's just hope he changes it even more, and let's hope that now FFP and PSR and all this rubbish that the Premier League have chucked at us is kind of getting abolished in a sense by Man City, you know, doing maybe now is the time that we do push on the pitch, and it's got to be now, because it's been too long. But I just hope the protests go peacefully, and I hope that it's done in the right way. And I think if certain elements kind of stay away and it's done as a peaceful protest, we get the media exposure, they do the sit-in bit afterwards, they do the march beforehand, and then get behind the team during the match. Hopefully it will work. Long term, will it make a difference? I don't know. I hope it does.
Very, very honest of you, Soren. I'm very, very slow this morning, so I accidentally missed this from earlier. Sorry about that, Blaine. He's saying, big up, guys. Just for Drew, by the way, jeans are the bottoms of the choice today, going for a proper score prediction of a 3-1 Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Drew, approval of the fashion choice?
I mean, I'm no one to talk, Blaine, to be perfectly honest with you. I've got tracksuit bottoms on 99% of the time. Mine just aren't Winnie the Pooh style. So, but yeah, it's all good. Big up, Blaine. It's always good to see him in the chat. He's a good lad.
Sorry about taking a while to get to this, Blaine. Let me know the jean brand. You know, if you will. Are you going Levi's?
It's going to be high. It's going to be high class. If it's Blaine Devlin, it's going to be high class. He doesn't wear bad denim on his tush.
Well, I hope there's no diamond studs or anything on the jeans. That's always a bad look. You know, nothing that
Bedazzled.
crazy, please. Don't go that overboard. Big up to you,
He's
Blaine.
Blaine dazzled them. That's what he's done.
Bedazzled them. Drew, I mean, what are your thoughts on
Yes.
maybe what Soren has just said there? I actually agree with Soren's point that maybe when there's noise inside the stadium, that does tend to get to Daniel. And we know that there is a sit-in later after the game. Could that be potentially something different that they haven't done before that could really at least garner media attention, right? And that is always the step in the right direction.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I have my own views on the protests and everything. I guess even though I'm in America, I mean, I do support my team in other ways by buying merchandise and stuff like that. Ridiculous amounts of it, probably equal to a season ticket. So I guess maybe I do have a say. I don't know. I honestly, I genuinely, I think it's pointless. I don't think it's going to do anything really. And I don't necessarily know that it should. My opinion is that, and this includes me because I'm a supporter and I can be fickle as just like the rest of them at times. But you know, the same people, and this is just an example, but the same people that will complain about Daniel Levy not putting 5 million more on the table at the beginning of January for Danzo to get him in the door 3 games sooner are the same people that will tell him to sell him for a $10 million loss or a £10 million loss if they perceive that player to then be a bag of crap at the end of the season. So
And just to jump in there, Drew, the same people will also moan at how much we've just spent on Archie Gray.
Right. So
you know,
you can't.
Why
you know,
spend 40 million?
Right. I know. I just. It's so like it's the only industry where like you can, because nobody does this. Nobody does this with soft drinks. Nobody does this with Coca-Cola and wears like Coca-Cola t-shirts and supports Coca-Cola. But when it comes to football, you just basically decide, or in my case, you know, my granddad was a Tottenham supporter, my dad was a Tottenham supporter, so I was a Tottenham supporter. I don't have any choice in the matter. It just is the way it is. And, you know, I choose to do this. I choose to wear the cockerel. I choose to buy things with the badge. And I don't feel like it's my right to turn around and bark at these people for essentially running what is a good business. I've got a very, very particular way of feeling about it. A lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine. A lot of people just, you know, I just see it completely differently. I see it as a business, and I choose to support this team. And as rough as it can be when we lose, and as wonderful as it can be when we win, they run it how they want to run it. Do I think that the players could? Do I think that they should pay the players more in wages? I guess maybe. I don't have an opinion on it really. They're in charge of the money. They keep the lights on at the end of the day, and there are a lot worse chairmen out there doing a lot worse things, putting their teams in a lot worse position. So I turn up on a Saturday, I watch my team play, I talk to my friends about Tottenham. I try not to get involved in the horrible quagmire that comes with it. And, you know, if they lose, I'm grumpy. If they win, I'm happy. I want us to win a cup, but I don't really have an opinion on the finances side of it.
At the end of the day, I do see your point that, like, protesting against Daniel Levy, how much impact does it actually have? At the end of the day, I think if you do have these feelings towards Levy, and I think a lot of people are actually coming more in agreement than they ever have before under Daniel Levy. It feels like there's more of a common consensus and a common agreement about the issues that and frustrations that we have with him. Whereas maybe in previous years, it felt like there was maybe more of a divide over, you know, what people believed in, what people agreed in over Daniel Levy. Whereas now it feels like there's more common agreements. So there is
my frustrations with Daniel Levy are very specific in that
You don't think you have
You know,
commonality with a lot of others, though, with maybe your frustrations, and that's why people are protesting?
well, yeah, but
You don't think you
I
have
look
some
at
of
the
the same
protest. I
frustrations
look
that the people at the
the
protest do?
change for Tottenham is different to me than a protest for Levy out. Change for Tottenham is asking for change. In that, in my opinion, it's asking for him to change how he runs parts of the business. In that, don't get involved with things that you're not good in get involved in, which I agree with. Stop getting involved with transfers. Give it to somebody that actually knows how to do transfers. You know, the nuances and the ins and outs of it. But that would be, I don't want him out. This whole burn it all down, get us relegated, don't win any cups, get rid of the guy, lynch him, shame on Daniel Levy. It's barbaric, it's pathetic. So I cannot get on board anything like that, any way, shape, or form. If you know, and so I would just rather keep out of it. I've got my own opinions, I've got my own feelings on it. I would like to see the club change. I would like to see maybe a bit more in terms of the wages being paid. But that's not just because I sit here and spend X amount of money on clothes that have got a cockerel sitting on a ball. I just don't think that gives me that much right to sit here and say they should absolutely do this, they should absolutely do that. It's an absolute joke. Look at what they've done. It's a travesty. I just don't see it that way.
I mean, I think this time around, I see a lot of your points. Trust me. It's just I think this time around, a lot of people are putting aside maybe their differences over how they might feel.
Yeah, but that's the
regarding
thing, Jack.
Levy, is
I
that
don't know
there's
if you've been. I don't know if you've seen social media or been on the channels the last couple of days, but they're absolutely not putting their differences aside. And
well,
I'm
I
not going
think
to mention
maybe
names
I don't
out of
want
respect, out of absolute respect for the channel. I'm not going to mention or bring anybody else into
Yeah.
it. But it's a cesspool out there in parts, and
Maybe
I'd want nothing to do with it. Nothing.
perhaps 48 hours before the actual protest, maybe it has gone a little bit undone, but it
And
did
that's
feel
pretty
like the
toxic out
week
there.
before. It did feel like the week before, at least in my opinion. I am sensing more common agreement amongst people about Daniel Levy. I am sensing that people share similar frustrations, similar grievances with Daniel Levy, regardless how strongly they feel about them or not. Like you say, whether they want the whole thing to be burned down is, definitely maybe a different question. But it seems like more people are at least sharing the same similar frustrations. And also, I just think in general, I spoke with Dan from Change for Tottenham about it. I think a lot of it just has to do with Spurs fans are seeing the same mistakes, the same things being repeated by Daniel Levy year in, year out. And it's becoming a case where we just want there to be at least some attention brought to the frustration that we've been sharing, over these years or so, with there just being constant mistake after mistake and not really a whole lot learning from them, from those
Man,
mistakes.
a year ago, we were not having the best of seasons, and we ended up finishing fifth. And we went into last season's close season like just.
Well, that's not happening
I
this year.
wouldn't say we're all no, but this is how quickly things can change, right? And to Dermot's point earlier, I think the point that he was trying to make was that if we were maybe sitting, I don't know, if you were 6'10", you'd be in the NBA. I get it. If my auntie had a wheel, she'd be a bike. I get it. But if we were floating around 7th or 8th and we were still in Europe and maybe we were still in the FA Cup, or even if we weren't in the FA Cup, this wouldn't be, I genuinely don't think this would be as bad as it is. The reason it's as bad as it is because we've had a bad season where we've flirted and hovered around the bottom part of the table. And I guess maybe I've been Americanized too much with American sports or something. I don't know. But one bad season, one bad swallow, one swallow does not make a summer. Is that it? One bad season does not mean get the pitchforks out and just cause holy hell because everything's just gone to shit, in my opinion. Like, to other people, it absolutely might. And like I've said before on the show, I have the privilege of not having to walk into an office in London and get absolute pelters because my team is absolute dog. I get it. That's fair enough. But that's as par for the course supporting Tottenham. I got my fair share of it in the 90s. So it's not like I've never been there. It's one bad season, and the stars can align and the moons can do whatever they can, and things can, you can capture lightning in a bottle. and the likes of Roberto Martinez can win an FA Cup with Wigan against Manchester City, right? That can happen in a season. The stars can also align and the planets can bump into each other and you can roll out a turd. And you know what, guys? This season we rolled out a turd. But if you take the average coach that's only got 18 months, 2 years to apparently rebuild and come up with a whole new plan and integrate new players. By the way, we've had twice as many players in and out as the next best team. So like, I guess I just have more patience and just a different viewpoint than a lot of other people. And that's why people call me crazy. People call me delusional. People call me a lot worse things than that. Big up everybody in the chat.
One quick question for the chat, because obviously a lot of people are disagreeing with you, Drew. So over the last 23 years, we've won 1 cup. How many cups do you in the chat think we should have won to be a successful club? I mean, we've been in 6 finals. We've been in 18 semi-finals. That is not an unsuccessful club. We just haven't won them. That's the problem. You know, well, if we'd have won another 3 of those trophies and got 4 or 5 cups in the last 23 years, are we successful? Do we have to be the Man City? Do we have, I just don't get it. If we'd have won a cup last year and a cup 5 years before that, are we then successful? We've been in those finals to have done that.
I don't know. I think that seems a bit similar to the Dermotron argument of earlier of like, what if we did win 4 more? The point is that we didn't, and there's maybe reasons for why we didn't, and people are going to come up.
Yeah, because one of our greatest goal scorers didn't show up in any of them.
See, that's your reasoning, but a lot of people have felt like it more came down to the managers not being given enough to get over the line in a lot of these cases.
They got given enough to get to the line. Like they got given enough to get absolutely up to the line, toe to toe with the other guys that got given absolutely enough to get up to the line. But the difference is that team knocked us out and we didn't knock them out. But that's obviously that's absolutely Daniel Levy's fault, that he prepared us up to an exact point, but then we couldn't get over it.
Well, also, though, I mean, I disagree, Drew. You look at a lot of those times that we did get to those semifinals or finals, it was also at the cost of, other times where, we were watching ourselves drop in the league, or we ended up getting knocked out of a cup competition far too early than we should have. How many times did we lose to the Middlesbroughs of the world, the Colchesters, these type of teams when, managers have had to roll out, a whole different squad of players that aren't really of the same caliber as the starting team. And there's so many times, man, when I feel like, Spurs have been, in a sense, let down by just a poor squad and poor squad planning that we've seen our season derail because of it.
Oh, dude, I'm all for berating the club for squad planning, but I do recall
I think that's
a lot
the
of
reason
those
that you don't get over the line with a trophy, or not? Is it not?
No, but I do realize that a lot of those instances in the past, in my mind, if I go back to the times when we got knocked out by lesser teams and things like that, I think we can all sit there hand on heart and say at the time the team that was out on the field was probably good enough to beat them, because most of the time we've had to drag on Sonny or we've had to put Kane on when we're sitting there going, we really shouldn't need to bring Kane on. So like I don't know. I don't prescribe to it. I just don't prescribe to it. I think there have been times in the past where we failed to get over the line because players bottled it.
Yeah. I was at the cup game against Grimsby when you've got the likes of Sheringham and players like that on the pitch, and we lost 1-0 at Grimsby Town. These are the sort of games. A couple of years ago, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United under Conte? Absolute whimper. Under Postecoglou last season, this season, absolute whimpers. There have been chances where we could have gone on and won more cups. Anyway, it's maybe time to move on and let's get on to today's game.
I think it might be save that for a panel show, because I do very much disagree.
Right.
Dark Sun G
today's
saying,
nailed on win. You mean, Soren? Today's nailed on win.
And I will say one thing, Drew. You mentioned at the beginning of the show that somebody had said we look alike. I think after what you've said today, you could be my little brother, because you're talking some sense.
Let's go.
Ugly Fish saying that Grimsby team was underrated, Soren. Odebear Johnson.
Not when you were sat there watching them, it wasn't.
Brilliant.
Dark Sun G saying Odebear, Johnson, Madison, Udogi captured on Spurs as a rival clip for Man United. Now our winger options are not too short for the first time this season. Hope to see Wilson and Tell play together at the same time today. Come on, you Spurs. Definitely looking forward to seeing Odebear come back because he is kind of what we've been asking for, it feels like, for a while now. Like a guy that is your traditional winger, runs out as fullback, causes problems, tries to get past him, tries to put balls into the box, that type of thing. We haven't really had, to be honest, any winger, even Sonny, hasn't been that great at it this season. We haven't had that guy that is just willing to cause his fullback problems, willing to run at him and cause his sort of dangerous moments. And I think Odebear will be a wonderful addition. And then when it comes to Matisse Tell, Dark Sun G, man, I know how you feel about this. I don't like the fact that Ange has continued to put Sonny down the middle. I thought the last game was a good opportunity to try Mattel through the middle and go for Sonny on the left, but he went for Sonny down the middle. So kind of maybe some questions on that, guys. I mean, I think that's one of the things where Ange doesn't help himself out very much. How many times has he seen that putting Sonny down the middle just simply isn't the best for the system? It isn't the best for Sonny either. I think he looks really uncomfortable playing in those central areas. He doesn't know how to sort of move about in those pockets of space between the midfield and the back line. When it comes to even battling for any sort of, ball in the box, he looks pretty intimidated by it. Matisse Tell, when he was shifted to the middle, scored a spectacular goal. So why is Ange continuing to persist with, Sonny down the middle and somebody else, on the wing? Surely he's got to go for Tell down the middle tonight.
We'll let Donovan go first. He hasn't said anything for a while.
Donovan,
Yeah, go on, Don.
Yeah, I don't know. Sonny, man, it's just he's just old now. He's just old. Can't really play him. Yeah, it sucks, man. And we haven't really built any kind of succession plan. And same thing with Kane. And we got Solanke now, so there's something. It'll be nice to see Johnson back on that right hand side because Kulizeski doesn't work. As a winger, he's now a 10. But no, for me, it's got to be Matthias Tell down the middle. I saw them good come in. I'm glad you brought it up, Dark Sun G. Thanks for your support for the channel here. Yeah, Johnson did like Shark coming in, Madison, Udogi. Who hope to see Wilson and Tell. Wilson, Odebear. You think he's going to start Wilson right now then? You think he's going to get Odebear going right in the starting lineup? I don't think so.
I think he'll probably be on the bench. We'll find out in about 10 minutes time, but I think he will be on the bench, Odebear.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant conversation with you guys earlier about the trophy and just this lack of ownership and everything. And like we even saw the best front three there. We saw Gareth Bale, Kane, and Son, and we still didn't get over the line against City there. So we've seen we've seen pretty much anything. It's not even the fact that like these protests are going to be pretty hard against us like as a club. It's just that like we've Drew, you nailed it on the head there, Drew. Like we've been given the tools right up to a certain point, but it's like you don't fix your car up to a certain point. Like you need your tires done, you get your tires done. You need an oil change, you get your oil change, right? Like when you're on a football club, if the players are coming out in the media and saying like you get to a certain point and we needed reinforcement, well, you learn it the first time, do it and go out and buy. And that's I think kind of like what's let us down as fans over the year, and that's kind of like why we're sick of it, right? And so if we can sell it over to a Qatari-based club where money is not an issue, like our FFP, I think we can play with like 600 million in FFP, and it wouldn't really affect us over 2 seasons. So, and if we drop that into the first team dramatically, and we just like improved certain areas and just went for it, like with the stadium we have, it would be a sleeping giant. Like we'd be there, and we already have that huge Asian market. And we talked earlier about Manchester United and how we're very similar as clubs. It's like, yeah, we're in a shit position now, but we do have that big brand that kind of supports us there no matter what. So we're not going to get relegated, but at least we have some kind of global hold in the market of football. So if we had like a more ambitious ownership, where it's just not even ambition, it's just the wealth and backing of the first team that make us elite. So as for Daniel Levy, he's kind of done everything he can up to a certain point. Like he made us competitive. He took us from a humble White Hart Lane to this like global superstar of a stadium and hosting NFL and Beyonce, and I don't know, there's a go-kart track there now, and there's going to be like hotels and whatever. But time to really put some serious money to the first team. And nothing against Kinsky, but let's be real, he flopped at that. We flopped at that goal, that first goal in the cup, and I was just it was just what's going on here, man? Like is this how it's gonna be? Whereas like you look at some of these well run clubs, I'm talking like prime Juventus, when like Bonucci would come off and Colaccini would still whatever his name, Cellini would still be in there, or their main goal would come off and they still have Chesney as a backup, like where you have competitive names in the areas of the club where it's like, what do we have? Vicario and Brandon Austin, right? So
yeah. Back to Dark Sun G's point. I mean, I do feel like, Odebear, has been a big miss this season, man. I mean, in a way, Odebear was supposed to be the, what do you call it? The Bakayoko, the Eza, the Pedro Neto, whichever sort of winger you wanted over the summer, of like a really high caliber that was supposed to compete with Sonny, was supposed to compete with Johnson and Kulusevski for those wing positions. Odebear, I guess, was brought in to be that guy. I think we all wanted it to be someone maybe of a slightly higher caliber, but the big issue is Odebear was brought in and has just been injured this whole time. So that was supposed to be the other winger. That was supposed to be the guy that could offer something a bit different, someone that could run at fullback, someone that could cause problems in those wide areas. And we've just been missing him all season. He's been a huge, huge hole that we probably haven't really considered too much. And it's just it's a big, big loss, for us. And it's good to have him back. It really will be. And with Tellman, I'm frustrated with Ange personally, because I just think, the fact that he just continues to persist with Sonny down the middle, it's just one of those things that personally I don't think is that defendable, and one of those ones that Ange just continues to get wrong, and I think continues to make a rod out of his own back for. But we'll see what he goes for in about 5 minutes time, Dark Sun G. And I'm expecting Madison to potentially be in the lineup, which will be a big boost, but might as well then talk about some other positions that, I don't know, guys. Who knows whether Ange will trust these guys. Let's go to maybe Archie Gray before we maybe end up being disappointed with the starting lineup in 5 minutes time. Archie Gray, will he play in the midfield? I'll throw this one back at you, Donovan, man. What do you think? Archie Gray, do you think Ange will persist with him? Will he throw him in the midfield, or do you think he'll leave him on the bench? And what does that say to Archie Gray if he isn't going to give him a chance in midfield?
I don't really know about Archie Gray, but I don't want Basuma to start in the midfield. Basuma is just, for me, I'd rather give that time to James Madison when he's healthy, or maybe give Bergvall a chance to keep growing, or even a Sarr. I mean, Sarr is just all legs. He covers so much of that ground. But for me, Basuma, I think he's on the way out of the club. I think he's part of that transitional group of players that need to be cycled out. And I hear rumors of Lo Celso like returning to the club to finish his contract, like negotiation out of the club. Like, I don't know if it, like, how that works.
So you don't think Archie Gray is starting in midfield today?
He could, like, he should. I don't know. I was thinking about Ben Davies and Danzo, the dynamic they'd have together at the back, how one's rock solid and the other one's like very pivotal back and forth, and so that'd be a good dynamic to have. But Archie Gray is so good on the ball. Like, he's so good and calm and collected, and he's able to play capable passes with both feet out of the back, something that Ben Davies is like. Here's the thing with Ben Davies. He's like he's solid, and then he'll have an absolute blunder like he did in the Liverpool Cup game. It reminds us all why it's Ben Davies and how Ben Davies came to a certain point of his career. And it's like, okay, he's a good player, but what's prevented him from getting to the next level? Then he'll have that moment like he did in the Cup game, and you'll reminded of like, okay, that's Ben Davies. And then he'll have a solid run of games after, and he'll like get blinded by the fact of like, oh, he's a good player, but no, he'll just let you down. So yeah, I think Ben Davies will have a great game with Danzo at the back, but it's again, like, is that going to be enough going into the second half of the season when we need like absolute solidarity for those knockout games in Europe? So that's what I'm hoping, Van de Ven and Romero. But even if Romero's not back, at least Danzo can play those passes, right? When he comes down, he can actually play those direct passes into that right back that Ange plays, that high possession system where it's a 145 angle, good 30-foot hard pass on the deck that really opens up that play. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully Spence and Udoji as our starting dynamic fullbacks up and down the pitch, and then bring Porro on in the last like 30 minutes of the game when things are tired, and he can really use his delivery and really cut through that final third of the Manchester United, because they're going to be penned in, right? Like, I know Martinez isn't playing, but they'll have De Ligt, and we'll have that Swedish guy, or I think he's Swedish, the player who used to play for Benfica there. I'm pretty sure
Yoro?
Sorry?
Is it Yoro? Is that the one?
Oh, there's a youngster there too. Yeah, the French Euro guy.
Yeah,
He'll play
Yoro.
part of the game too.
That's right.
But
I think their back three, isn't it going to be Mazraoui, Yoro, and
Maguire.
well, no, I guess
it's going to be
De
Maguire.
Ligt, Maguire, and Yoro. Sorry, yeah,
Some version of that. On to Archie Gray though. Drew, do you think he'll be playing in midfield today? And why hasn't Ange played in midfield? To the question.
I'd like to see him in midfield. I think he should play in midfield, but I think the problem that we've got is because we still don't have a VDV fit and we don't have a Romero fit and Dragusin's out. The only three centre-back options for cover that we've currently got is Davies, Danzo and Gray. So I personally don't think he's going to play all of them in the same match or all of them at the same time, because then he's, should the worst happen, he's got no cover to then put in. So I personally think if we had another backup, I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I think he's going to play Danzo and Gray, and I think Davies is going to be on the bench.
I'm kind of we'll find out about a minute here, but I think he'll probably drop Archie Gray, for this game, and he'll probably leave him on the bench to then, like you say, potentially come in as a center back in case someone gets injured.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if he does drop him, it's not a drop, right? I don't think it's to be dropped. It's just a rotation thing. Like,
Could you say he's a bit like Jed Spence, though, where he's kind of been one of his best players, like in the last few months? So to then leave him on the bench would be a bit harsh, wouldn't it?
I don't necessarily know, because he's still young, and I still think, you need a. Even though I believe in a meritocracy, you also have to have a bit of a hierarchy. So, I mean, it could. No, he's not going to drop Danzo. I genuinely don't. I don't think it's harsh. I just think it's the way football works. You can't play everybody, and it just is what it is. I mean, is it harsh that you're sitting on a bench playing for a Premier League football team, earning great money, going home at the end of the night to probably a very good-looking girl? Do you know what I mean? I think everything's fine. I don't think it's that deep.
I think it has been harsh on Gray because he's only used him as like a stopgap filler type guy, and any chance that there has been an opportunity to potentially put him in midfield, he just hasn't done it, despite Archie Gray giving him very good performances in various positions. Like even in the Everton game was a great example and a great time to. Thank you. I've been refreshing, Donovan. Appreciate it, man. But the Everton game was a good example of him to put Archie Gray in midfield, and he didn't. He went for some hybrid center back role that didn't make any sense, and it came back to
right. But same problems, wouldn't it? Because that was before Danzo came in. We still had VDV out. We still had Romero out. So at the time, we were still three centre backs, and I think even Davies was out at that point. So I can't. While there has been opportunity to play him, I just don't think. There was an opportunity. People beat Ange with the stick that there was an opportunity to play Spence earlier than he did. But if you go back and actually look at the evidence in the games where he could have played him, we were needing attacking forces, and at the time, Porro was our starting right back. So there's an argument. Yes, you could have played him sooner, but there's also the argument that the crowd or people or us would have been up in arms that we're trying to seek out a goal in the last 15 minutes of a game, and you're replacing a right back with a right back. So, you know what I mean? There's there's more to it than just he's being dropped. It's a little harsh on him for me. But I guess what's the story?
Here's your lineup.
On the bench.
There we go.
Vicario is in the goals. You have Kinsky on the bench. Pedro Porro likely at right back still. Kevin Danzo alongside him. Ben Davis is in the back line with Jed Spence. Luckily, Jed Spence makes the team. Bergvall's in midfield with Bentancur and Madison, a very attacking midfield. Kulusevski, Tell, and Sonny are your front three. On the bench, we have Kinsky, Udogie, Gray, Basuma, Sarr, Moore, Odebert, Johnson, Scarlett. Finally, that bench is looking a bit stronger and also nowhere near as many report cards or as many people that needed, excuses from school in order to make the game today. But lads, what do we think of the lineup? Vicario coming back, Soren. You see Bergvall, Madison is the midfield. Definitely for the most part, I think this is kind of what people were expecting. I think my predicted lineup, the only one I got wrong was maybe Bergvall. I kind of left Bergvall on the bench, and I think I put Sarr or Basuma, I believe, in the midfield. But are you pretty satisfied with this lineup? Is this kind of what you were expecting?
Yeah.
I think there's one or two players in there that I'm not. I kind of thought Porro might have been dropped, but until we know how fit players like Udogie were, then we wouldn't have known. I'm expecting Bentancur will probably play more of that number sort of 6 role defensive and let Bergvall and Madison be creative. Maybe Bergvall will sit back a little bit more and Bentancur. Kulu right, Son left, Tell down the middle. Doesn't surprise me Vicario's back because Ange was saying the other day he's his number one. As soon as he's fit, he's playing, so it's no surprise there. I just feel it would have been nice today to have seen Gray come on in midfield. Now, Gray might still come on in midfield if Davis is fit enough to carry on. Maybe Spence will go to the right, Pedro Porro come off, and Udogie come on for half a game. It's an exciting team in a sense. It'd be nice to see how these players cope. I think we need to be very strong in midfield, and that's where we'll either win or lose the game today. Midfield is important. We've got to really control that. Bentancur's got to play better than he has been.
Yeah. I'm surprised he actually was included in the lineup, Soren, because he gave up on that second goal. And, I wonder if I wouldn't have put it past Ange to have dropped him for that reason, because even if Bentancur has been our best midfielder, that was atrocious what he did against Aston Villa.
Yeah, it was. I just look. He is a quality player when he's on form. So maybe it's just one of those that because we haven't seen Gray, then it hasn't gone with him. Maybe he needs a rest. I don't know, but I would have liked to have seen Gray in that number 6 role today. I think he deserves the chance. That's probably where he's going to play long term for the team. But yeah, I mean, it's an exciting team. I think there's certainly chances in there. There's quality in there. If Madison's on form, then him and Kulu, it's exciting. The only thing I will say with Bergvall, I just hope he calms down a little bit. He can be a little bit rash now and again. Today is not a day we need a player sent off. So quite excited with the team. Let's just hope they go and do the business for us.
Just to give you the Man United news, if you want it, you got Onana in goal, Mazraoui, Maguire, De Ligt as the centre backs, Dallo and Dorgu as your wing backs, Casemiro, Fernandez, Xerxes, Garnacho, and Højlund.
Casemiro could be someone worth trying to, sort of, I don't know. Sometimes he puts in a decent shift for that, but lots of times he can't be got at in that midfield. But I'm really worried about Dorgu, and I am worried about Dallo. I think both of them, especially Dallo. I think Dallo actually has a good cross on him and also has a very good shot on him when given space. And then if he has a lot of space in those wide areas, I'm a little worried about the problems they could cause us. But this team, Drew, it's a whole lot stronger than what we're used to. I mean, is this team capable of smashing Man United today?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got no reason to go back on what I was thinking earlier, that it will be a convincing win. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. We shall see.
Are there any problems you have with the lineup, Donovan? Is there any areas that maybe you thought would have been different? For the most part, this is kind of what I expected. The big surprise to me is actually Bergvall maybe being in the team. I kind of thought maybe Bentancur would have been dropped, or, I know you said you don't want to see Basuma anymore, but I had a feeling, maybe Sarr or Basuma would have been included in the midfield, but he's trusting Bergvall. That's a big sign.
As long as he plays Son on the wing, not in a striker position, and then Porro for me, I would like to see Porro and Udogie instead, but we'll use Udogie back. And it's nice to see Johnson on the bench there.
Yeah, nice to see Johnson and Odeberg, right?
Yeah, no kidding. But it's Danzo Angeball, right? So we'll see how it works, and we'll see how that kind of pivot. He's kind of jumpy, right? Like he plays the role a lot differently than a calm Cootie Romero, and Romero almost takes too long on the ball sometimes. So we'll see how it works. We'll see how it works long term.
Yeah, I think with Bergvall being in midfield is a huge, sign of Ange probably trusting, some of these guys, maybe the younger players like Bergvall more than he's trusting maybe players like Basuma, the more experienced ones. I think that's a big sign. Or Ange just wants to go back to a much more attacking system, a much more on the front foot type of style. And you can achieve that with having probably Bergvall and Madison together. We know Bergvall probably likes to get stuck in maybe just a bit more than Madison too. So he might be the guy to drop deep, sort of pick up the ball, help Bentancur a bit out. So definitely a big call from Ange and showing that he does.
I'll tell you, they have their bench to Darkson G's point. I think their bench looks a lot like ours, so has done for the last few weeks. And yeah, I know one guy. They got Harrison, Lindelof, Haven, Amas, Coney, Fredrickson, Obi, Fletcher, and Morehouse. I don't think I could pick any of them out of a lineup.
I don't even know what half of those guys even look like. It is a very, similar bench to what we've had. And that's what Darkson G wrote here. Look at Man U's bench.
Big up Soren. I think Soren's got to go. Big up, mate. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, catch you later. 3-0 Spurs. Come on.
There you go. Come on.
Looks like Donovan popped out as well. Thank you, Soren. Cool. Thanks for helping me out. Darkson G saying, look at Man United's bench. It's like our bench for the last month. They're using Casemiro, a player that they wanted to sell for a long time. Let's win. Yeah, again, maybe speaks to what I said earlier. Man United and Spurs having similar frustrations. A guy like Casemiro and the team that they wanted to sell for a long time is still starting in their midfield. And he's definitely had some good performances for them, but he's also had some shockers for them. And so let's hope that's the case today. Darkson G. It's a two-man midfield, in Ruben Amorim's system. So he's going to have to cover a lot of ground. He's going to have to be very disciplined positionally. And let's hope that we can just run rings around him and run through him, especially with guys like Bergvall, who's, be given a big boost of confidence from Ange here, and also, Madison, a new addition to the team. And it should be, a huge boost to have someone like him back in midfield. So I'm looking forward to this, Darkson G. I think we should be able to cause problems to that midfield. I'm just slightly worried about their wing backs and their fullbacks. I think that's where their system could cause us some problems, but we'll find out. And yeah, it's good to see that they actually have a much, much weaker bench than us for the first time in months, man. Like, I don't know when it's the last time we had any sort of bench of any kind, to really lean on or pick from. And we even were looking at like Dane Scarlett as like a big boost, off the bench. Now he's actually probably one of the names on the bench that we're not maybe as excited about, let's say. So just shows how much things have improved and how much better the situation is now. Drew, final words from yourself, score predictions from you, my friend?
I'm still sticking with, I think it's going to be a big one. I'm still going, what did I say earlier? 4-0, 4-1, somewhere in that realm. 4-1, 3-1, 3-0. I think it's going to be a good one. Might even be 3-2. Hell, no, Vic's back, isn't it? 4-0. 4-0 clean sheet. Let's go.
Vic's back in clean. Vic's back in clean sheets. Let me know your score predictions, everybody. How are we feeling about this one? The Alaskan Hotspur is saying, personally, I like the lineup. 4-1 Spurs for me. Come on, you Spurs. Can you read the bench again? The text is small. Let me do that for you, Johnny. Kinsky's on the bench. Udogi, Gray, Basuma, Sarr, Mikey Moore, Odeberg, Johnson, Scarlett, lot stronger than what we're used to. Shawnee, plenty of guys that you would like to see probably be given a chance in this game off the bench as an impact. DJ Samuel, good to see you from earlier, saying, come on, you Spurs. Good to see you, DJ. How are we? 2-0 Coys from Joff Totten. 3-2 if we're lucky, says Rudy too. I'm probably leaning towards something around a 3-2, 3-1, something like that. I do, if I'm always going to, no matter if I have doubts, I'm always going to still try to imagine some sort of result for Spurs. So I'm going to go 3-1, but I don't know. I'm going to see if they can prove me wrong ahead of this game. I'm not too confident about the team at the moment. Nitro DJ, 3-1 Spurs. Nice to see that. Cunha has pulled a goal back for Wolves, 2-1, predicting a 2-1 from Vermont. Love that, Levi. Thank you so much. Thanks for sending that in. Well, everybody, I've gone for a 3-1. Drew's given his score prediction. He will be joining me later for the watch along. Thank you to Soren. Thank you to Donovan, to Dermatron for helping me out, for making this thing possible. I'll see you all later in about 30 minutes time or so. So please join us. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself some more coffee, a bite to eat, whatever it is you need to get yourself pumped up for this game. Tried our best to pump you guys up, and it's definitely difficult without Dave, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed it nonetheless. and I will see you later. Come on, you Spurs.
Oh,
Huge day
and
today.
remember to smash a like, check your subscription, and grab that NordVPN.
Thank you very much, Drew. Alrighty, everybody. See you in about 30 minutes time.
Take care.